Good afternoon and welcome to St. Newsfile. I'm Megan Brennan. Troy Durrell will have sports coming up, but first let's check in with Katie Baines with the weather.
Hi Megan and Troy. It's a little windy out here right now, but we have reached our high of 7 degrees. Absolutely beautiful considering our record low at this time was minus 31 back in 1902. I found a video today in Quebec of a 40-car pileup. Thankfully, our weather isn't quite this bad. The weather will be warming up this weekend, so you can head outside, and I'll have more on that in a little bit. Back to you.
Thanks, Katie. And Troy, the Flames took a little bit of a hard hit last night, not getting that record. But what do you think happened?
Well, Megan, they had a couple injuries. They had they had some guys out with the flu, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Perfect. So let's take a look at today's top stories. The Alberta provincial budget has been unveiled for the 2017-18 fiscal year. Kara Oosterhouse is down at the McDougall Centre here in Calgary to tell us what the forecast is for the next year. Kara, what should we be expecting to see this year's budget?
Well, first off, it was stated in Budget 2017 that we are going to have a debt of $45 billion by the end of this year. And looking towards 2019-2020 year, the debt is expected to increase to a whopping $71 billion. And that's just a number that Albertans are not used to seeing. Overall, Alberta is expected to see a deficit of $10.3 billion, which is actually down from what was forecasted last year at $10.8 billion. This year's budget does not include any funding for the Green Line, so Calgarians shouldn't expect any help from the provincial government anytime soon. It was announced Calgary will get 5 new schools as well. In the budget, it was also stated that the Trans Mountain pipeline that was approved earlier this year is expected to be finished in 4 years, with shovels hitting the ground in September.
And Kara, how will this affect our economy and employment rates?
Labour is expected to have a growth of 0.9% in Alberta. It will take a while for the unemployment rate to go down, and it is expected to be at 8% this year. By the end of 2017, the projected price of a barrel of oil is supposed to be $55 US.
And what can we here at SAIT as students look forward to?
So the tuition freeze in post-secondary institutions has been extended to a 3rd year, which will help ensure the education remains possible for the average student. The provincial government is budgeting $96 million for scholarships and awards for about 54,000 students and $56 million for grants to about 16,000 students and $46 million budgeted to apprenticeship delivery. I'd say it's a good time to be a student, Megan.
Thanks, Kara. I'll be interested to see what this year's budget brings our province. One day after a serious worker was seriously injured in an explosion and fire at Suncrude's upgrader facility in northern Alberta, the company says it's found a cause of the blaze. A line failure that caused threatening naphtha to leak sparked the fire. The fire started in plant 13-1 where hydrogen is added to product. A spokesman for Suncrude says the fire is still burning, but emergency responders are managing it as a controlled burn to burn off residual hydrocarbons. Most of Suncrude's workforce has returned to the complex, and the upgrader is still operating despite the fire. With a little help from science community, Mother Nature could be in for a facelift. Cassandra Stefanik reports on the innovation behind the freshest way Alberta plans on going green.
The war between the traditional Albertan way of producing oil and its ecological impact continues to heat up. But there may be a way for the province to have its cake and eat it too. The provincial and federal governments will provide funding for a Calgary-based test facility that will house technologies capable of converting carbon dioxide emissions into reusable products.
One of the largest challenges that we're facing in the world today is greenhouse gases and emissions. This is finding innovative solutions and ways to reduce these emissions by turning them into a valuable product, whether it's in use with concrete, plastics, whichever. And so we're meeting our environmental objectives at the same time as creating a new value chain.
the province has suffered a sort of division, some ecstatic and others worried that economic prosperity could cost us the Rockies' rich climate.
Carbon emissions are one of those things that causes global warming. And yet we understand that in order to build on our successes, investing in technologies that can turn carbon emissions into usable products, that's a win-win.
Project construction of the facility will begin in June of 2017 and will cost an estimated $20 million.
Calgary's new facility will be owned and operated by Albertan company Innotech and will be run by finalists of the Carbon X Prize, a global scale competition. For State Newsfile, I'm Cassandra Stefanik.
The City of Calgary met yesterday to discuss how Calgarians could use their smartphones in the future to pay for transit passes. City Hall's Transit Committee is looking at an idea to spend $5.5 million for a new mobile ticketing system. That means using your cell to pay for your ride and phasing out the old ticket vending machines, which are nearing their lifespan anyways.
Whatever we can do to make it easier and improve customer service for transit users, the better. So we've been hearing for many years that our transit users want to have an easier way to pay. And so I think it's a great idea.
The city would need to spend an additional $2.4 million annually to operate and maintain the system. That could be in place within this year. New rules for flying recreational drones in Canada have been announced. Federal Minister of Transport Marc Garneau is imposing new restriction on all recreational drone users in Canada. Garneau says the new measures are meant to curb the number of near misses between drones and commercial aircrafts, which have been more than tripled from 2014 to 2016. Under the new restrictions, recreational drone pilots are prohibited from flying their UAVs higher than 90 meters, within 75 meters of buildings, animals, or people, or within 9 kilometers of an airport. Night flights are also prohibited under the new restrictions, which promises a fine of up to $3,000. Transport Canada has released a cheat sheet for drone users to find out what they are doing is within the law. The new regulations could make it difficult for amateur drone pilots to fly their aircraft in populated areas.
Limiting the distance you can fly in terms of height and distance, and not only that, the time of day. You're not allowed to fly at night anymore, which means you're limited only to a few hours of the day, which can really be tough in a big city like the one that we're in.
The new measures do not apply to commercial drone pilots and are in effect immediately. The Conservative Ethics and Accountability critic has asked for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to be investigated after public servants helped prepare him for a visit to an Alberta reserve in October. Alberta MP Blaine Calkins has written to the Public Service Commission and asked for the body in charge of ensuring a non-partisan public service to investigate after staff with the Privy Council office helped prepare the Prime Minister for an event that featured Stan Sakamoto, the Liberal candidate in the Medicine Hat Karsten Warner by-election that was happening at the time. The Conservatives say there was a campaign event, and as such, public servants should not have prepared briefing material for the Prime Minister. However, during the visit, the Prime Minister also met with the Chief and Council to discuss First Nation issues. Some habits can be good, but others can increase your risk of developing health problems. State School and Health of Public Safety is working to help students who want to quit smoking. Newsfile's Brianne Smith reports on addicting awareness and the support to kick the habit.
I started about 11 years ago.
10 years?
When I was 16 to 20.
Smoking can start at a young age for a variety of different reasons.
I had a rebel phase and I just wanted to shake my old image, and so I did everything I could, even the unhealthy stuff.
Some people find the reason it's hard to quit is the social interaction of smoking.
Just way of relaxing, continue conversation.
When everybody goes for the smoke break and you can't go, kind of feel left out.
Students from the School of Health and Public Safety are providing students with cessation counseling, exploring people's readiness to quit, giving tools and support for successful quitting strategies.
The goal is actually to provide services to our student population to be able to help them actually improve their health. So what we're really starting with is saying, if you want help quitting, we know how expensive it is, we know how difficult it is, but we'd like to be able to offer that service, and we have students who are actually trained in that.
There are more than 40 state students and staff who are involved in this program. Fewer people are heavy smokers today compared to a decade ago. Smoking has a direct impact on health and life expectancy, which means if you smoke, you could lose up to 9 years of your life.
Smoking is one that everybody knows is a really, really bad thing to do for heart attack and stroke, so you got to stop smoking. There's a lot of resources available these days to help people manage that.
The SAIT Health Services Clinic in the Senator Burns building can also assist. Additional resources are available through SAIT from its connection with the Alberta Quits program. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Brianne Smith.
March is Nutrition Month, and nutrition is something that is often skipped in the life of a busy student and can ultimately affect brain health and productivity. As students, we think packaged goods are the way to go because they are cheap and easy, but our brains are important tools that help us to succeed, and we need to feed them. If done right, it doesn't need to be expensive. Little snacks such as fruit or almonds throughout the day are important, as well as to keep a balanced diet and to keep your blood sugars where they need to be throughout the day. The Calgary Zoo continues to break ground in food sustainability practice with the recent recognition of 2 significant designations. Just this past month, the zoo was awarded the first tourist attraction in Canada to be certified as leaders in environmentally accountable food service. The achievement recognizes the zoo's practice in sourcing locally produced food, as well as initiating the 3-stream sorting system for composting waste and recycling in both front of house and back of house operations.
For the culinary, all of the cooking and stuff that happens at the zoo, we're really passionate about sustainable practices. We do a lot of our own composting on grounds. We also just started growing our own microgreens, which we're super excited about.
By endeavoring to make an impact in the food service industry, the zoo is helping to create a more sustainable future. This Friday marks Thank Your Driver Day. Thank Your Driver Day recognizes the hardworking bus and C-train operators. Every weekday, more than 500,000 Calgarians get around the city with the help of Calgary Transit's bus, C-train, shuttle, and access drivers. Thank Your Driver Day is traditionally celebrated on March 18th because on that day in 1662, bus service debuted in Paris with horse-drawn vehicles. It's easy to show your appreciation by greeting your driver with a smile and a wave. You can also share your thanks on Twitter or Instagram, tagging @Calgary Transit and using the hashtag ThanksCT. Those are today's top stories. We'll have our full forecast for you after the break, but first, Katie Baines has a look at what's going on around Calgary this week.
It's time to strap on your running shoes and dress yourself in green. Tomorrow is the St. Patrick's Day Fun Run. Either 1.7K, 11.7K, or 17K, celebrate this fun Irish holiday at Eau Claire tomorrow night. The Alberta Ballet presents a childhood favorite. See Tweedledee and Tweedledum do classical ballet starting tonight through Saturday at the Jubilee. The Calgary's Farmers Market is getting into the spirit of St. Paddy's Day with a special themed market. Live entertainment will hit the stage and a craft table will be open for kids. There are bars all over the city that will be serving green beer and celebrating St. Paddy's Day right. Don't forget to wear green. Celebrate tomorrow with the Irish Culture Centre. Irish dancing, Irish music, and tons of great food. Spend the evening celebrating the luck of the Irish at a festival highlighting collections of beers, whiskeys, and even a spirit or two.
In a world ruled by money, social values are losing strength. New generations have the power to make a change and embrace those values again. Solutions are everywhere, and one solution could be you. If you are a student and have the skills, make it real. Enact as SAIT. Get involved.
1 in 3 families can't afford to put their child in organized sports. At Jumpstart, it's about more than getting active. It's about giving kids the opportunity to try a new sport or continue on they love. No child should be left out. With the help of Jumpstart, we can get kids off the bench and on the ice. For more information to donate or apply, visit jumpstart.canadiantire.ca.
It was a bit of a snowy day in Calgary today, but luckily the weather will start to warm up. Let's have a peek at the West Coast first. As you look on over in Vancouver, nothing new to report there. Clouds in the sky, as it usually is, and they're sitting at 6 degrees. There is a warm front that's pushing into Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, which is going to bring those warm temperatures into the weekend, which is absolutely wonderful, considering we're sitting at -30 at this point last week. As we head on over to the East Coast, you can see it's sunny in Toronto and they're sitting at 0. There is still tons of snow on the ground in both Ontario and Quebec, like you saw in that video earlier. So snow up to people's waists, absolutely crazy. But luckily that warm front is coming in and hopefully that snow will start melting soon. St. John's is sitting at 6. Now, if your flight isn't completely delayed, go check out the resorts. Palm Springs is the place to be today. It's sunny and 35. It's cloudy but still beautiful in Barbados. Cancun is begging the rain to go away. Aloha Honolulu. It's an ideal day with nothing but blue sky. Both Orlando and Sin City are sunny and ready for the tourists. It was a little snowy this morning and the current temperature in Calgary is 1 degree. Only slight winds and partly cloudy skies. Now tonight there will be some wet flurries, so if you're driving, make sure you drive safely, a low of -4. Let's have a peek at the Alberta map. As you look up north, a little bit chillier compared to what we're experiencing down here, but really nothing too bad considering it was that -30 last week. Fort Mac is at -4 and Grand Prairie is at -2. As we head on down south, you can see that the temperatures are sitting pretty nice, but with that warm front and the low pressure system, the temperatures will only increase going into the double digits later in the weekend, which will be absolutely wonderful. Let's have a look at the 5-day forecast. Tonight, there will be those wet flurries, high of 2 and a low of -4. Tomorrow for St. Patrick's Day, we have a high of 6 and a low of only 0. Saturday is the most wonderful day, a high of 14 and a low of only -2. Saturday would be the best day to hit the slopes. Let's check out the ski report. The Sunshine Hill is covered with light powder. It has received 18 centimeters of snow in the past day and all 12 lifts are open. There is 2 centimeters of fresh snow at Castle Mountain. This is the best skiing and riding of the season. The sun is higher and warmer and the snow has evolved to make every turn into a work of art. Lake Louise has 142 trails and 10 lifts open. It's currently snowing and -2 with a 131 centimeter base. Variable conditions and a 96 centimeter base at Mount Norquay. The hill has seen a couple centimeters of snow recently and the flakes are continuing to fall. Nothing but hard and packed snow on the Nakiska Ski Hill. The sun is up and calling all slope junkies. It's nothing but beauty and ferny today if you're looking to head to BC. It's currently 3 degrees and conditions look ideal. The mountain has received 13 centimeters of fresh snow.
So the Flames did lose last night. You were mentioning kind of some lineup changes that happened.
Yeah, goaltender Brian Elliott was out with the flu, but head coach, Glenn Gulletson isn't going to make any excuses. But yeah, I do have a little bit more exciting news with the Trojans, so we'll get into that right now. The St. Trojans basketball team season has already been a successful one, bringing home the team's first ACAC championship in 16 years. That helped them qualify for the Collegiate Athletic Association National Championship in Charlottetown, PEI. The Trojans take on the Holland Hurricanes today, and Newsfile's Angela Stewart is live from the St. Newsroom with more on the big game. Angela?
Yes, Troy. So we only have about 80 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Trojans are trailing by 12 points, so 104 to 92. So the boys definitely have their work cut out for them. The Holland Hurricanes are actually hosting the St. Trojans in Charlottetown, and this is the St. Trojans' first game of the championship tournament. This tournament features 8 teams across Canada who won their league, and today's game is crucial if St. wants to move on to the championship bracket. The winner of this game moves on to the semifinal portion of the tournament, while the loser is knocked out into the consolation side of the brackets. The Trojans finished second in the ACAC South Division with a 15-6 record. And they beat the Medicine Hat College Rattlers in the final game, with John Smith Jr. being the named game MVP. The Hurricanes on the other side finished 4th in their league with a record of 13-7, but stormed back into the playoffs and defeated Mount Allison 81-70 to win the ACAA championship.
So what happens after this game, Angela?
So the winner of this game will take on the Mount Allison and the Sheridan game, which is happening will actually take place shortly after this game.
Awesome. Go Trojans. I hope they can make a comeback. That was Angela Stewart reporting from the SAIT newsroom. The men's hockey team fell short of their ultimate goal of winning a championship when they fell 2-0 in a best-of-3 series against the McEwen Griffins. The Trojans finished in third place in the ACAC and qualified for the semifinals when they were beaten by the Griffins. The boys did advance a step further than last season, however they did not meet their goal that was set out at the beginning of the campaign. Although the season may be done, the Trojans will be back in the championship conversation again next year, with 19 players potentially returning to the lineup, which is rare for a school where most of the programs are only 2 years.
We have a young team, so we got a lot of guys coming back, and we can build off that. Got a little experience now, kind of felt that heartache of what it's like to lose. So now we just take that and really have a burning desire to win next year.
With all the returning players, the team expects to make a deep run into the playoffs and aim for a championship season. The Calgary Flames returned to practice today following a 5-2 loss to the Boston Bruins last night, halting the Flames' 10-game winning streak. The Flames were without starting goaltender Brian Elliott, who was out with the flu, so backup Chad Johnson got his first start in nearly a month. The Flames were gunning for an 11th consecutive triumph, but some sloppy play and costly mistakes were Calgary's downfall. David Pastrnak potted a pair, while Brad Marchand, David Backes, and Matt Bolesky also scored for the Bruins, who have now won 4 straight. Alex Chason and Dougie Hamilton replied for the Flames, and the Flames return to action tomorrow night at home against the Dallas Stars, who are coming off a 7-1 beatdown to Edmonton. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman was in Calgary last night to discuss the Flames Arena, the Scotiabank Saddledome. The rink will be the league's second oldest building after Detroit vacates Joe Louis Arena and moves into their new digs at Little Caesars Arena. Bettman stated that although the Saddledome is a grand old building with a lot of historic moments, it was built in 1980 and it's an old and rundown facility. Bettman also said there's a recognition that the building needs to be replaced, but he didn't have any more new news to announce. The Calgary Hitmen failed to clinch the final playoff spot Wednesday night against the Red Deer Rebels, losing 5-1, keeping the Saskatoon Blades 3 points back. The Hitmen now have another chance to clinch the 8th seed in the East with a home-and-home against the Kootenay Ice. Jacob LeBlanc reports the importance of the final 2 games.
The Calgary Hitmen have 2 more games to clinch the final wildcard spot. The boys have a home-and-home with the Kootenay Ice, and they need 1 more win in their final 2 games to secure the 8th seed. Heading into the final stretch, the Hitmen are struggling on the special teams, being bottom 3 in both power play and penalty kill. The players know that special teams can make a huge impact in the back end of the season.
I think, when you get to playoff time, there's lots of key situations where, you're going to depend on your power play to get a goal, or you're going to really need your penalty kill to bear down and keep them out of the net. So, yeah, I think, in the heat of the moment and big playoff games, you're going to need your specialty teams to be good.
Though it may seem like the Hitmen are in the playoffs, they aren't quite there yet. The Saskatoon Blades are still 3 points behind and could overtake the Hitmen for the final wildcard spot. Carolina Hurricanes prospect Jake Bean says this home-and-home with the Ice almost feels like the playoffs.
I think the last kind of probably 5 to 10 games have felt like that, where we've been on the brink the whole time, and being able to clinch a spot right now in the next couple games, that's going to be our focus going there today.
Both teams have been struggling recently in their last 10 games, with Kootenay winning only 1 game, while the Hitmen are 5-5. The Hitmen do have the advantage going into this game, beating the Ice 5 straight times this season. While the Hitmen are struggling this season on the special teams, the one thing they are succeeding at is discipline. The Hitmen are a top 3 team this season for least penalty minutes allowed per game with 12, and they know heading into the final stretch of the regular season and possibly the playoffs, discipline plays a huge factor on whether you win games or not. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Jacob LeBlanc.
The United States women's national team has edged Canada for gold at the last 3 World Championships, but Team USA doesn't plan to appear at this year's tournament in Michigan. The American players say they'll boycott the championship during their ongoing fight with USA Hockey for living wages, and players told the National Federation on Wednesday that they won't report to training camp later this month and plan to sit out the competition, citing a breakdown in negotiations. A Philadelphia law firm said USA Hockey expects players on the national team to train year-round, but pays them virtually nothing outside of a 6-month residency period leading up to the Olympics, during which the players are paid $1,000 a month. That's a look at sports.
So I know that's kind of an ongoing matter. Are there any updates coming in right now?
Yeah, they actually came out with a deadline of 5 p.m. Eastern time to decide if they're actually going to play in the tournament or not.
Interesting. So it's Indigenous Week, and after the break, we will take a look at what SAIT is doing to celebrate.
In a world ruled by money, social values are losing strength. New generations have the power to make a change and embrace those values again. Solutions are everywhere, and one solution could be you. If you are a student and have the skills, make it real. Enact as SAIT. Get involved.
1 in 3 families can't afford to put their child in organized sports. At Jumpstart, it's about more than getting active. It's about giving kids the opportunity to try a new sport or continue on they love. No child should be left out. With the help of Jumpstart, we can get kids off of the bench and onto the ice. For more information to donate or apply, visit jumpstart.canadiantire.ca.
Being a student here at SAIT means more than just what program you choose or what sports and activities you take part in during your time here. Newsfile Cassandra Stefanik reports on Indigenous Week and celebrating some of the many people that make being a student at such a diverse institution like SAIT so great.
And why is that important?
Oki, hello, Tonshi, and how. SAIT offers a welcoming environment for all of its students, and the Indigenous people are of absolutely no exception. Indigenous Week is here and is serving as a reminder that traditions and beliefs that built Canada's foundation are still very relevant today.
That these people are still here, that they have a history and a language and experiences that are valid and to be celebrated and to be part of the overall culture as well, to challenge us to maybe think about the world in a different way, to be more inclusive. There's all kinds of really good reasons to acknowledge, the history of this land that includes the Indigenous people.
Indigenous peoples represent 4% of the Canadian population, 16% of Alberta, and 15% of the people here in Calgary. Artists, vendors, and speakers hope to initiate discussion by creating an inclusive environment for students curious about the First Nations.
Well, I think it's a good thing for sure to do, first of all, because there isn't a lot of exposure for that sort of stuff except these programs that people do. So yeah, to get us out here and do stuff like this, it's really great.
Events like this one here on campus encourages students to get involved and understand one another in a fun and interactive way. Although the artwork and activities are only on through this week, students looking to network or access one-on-one assistance can do so at the Chinook Lodge in Senator Burns Building, open 5 days a week. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Cassandra Stefanik.
So it is St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Any plans for that?
Nothing too crazy, but I will be wearing green, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not doing too much either, but I'm not really a huge fan of green, so I might have to risk getting pinched, actually.
Pinched a few times?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big risk,
Yeah,
Troy.
it is a big risk, but I'm not a huge fan of the color, so.
Well, thank you for watching. For Katie Baines and Troy Durrell, I'm Megan Brennan.